Hello there, and welcome to Movie Club. And tonight we are going to be talking about a movie that Shaar posted, and it looks like it'd be a fun one. I quite enjoyed it, but it's called OtherLife, and since Shaar was the one who chose it, she can do the sort of basic intro for it. So
sure.
But before we do that, shall we watch the trailer?
Yeah.
Okay. So here we go. Gonna have to turn the volume up a bit, so try not to be too loud.
Do you want to see something cool?
I didn't think it'd be so real.
Is there something else?
Why? Because memory's a chemical.
Everything is.
That's amazing.
Do you want to go again?
I think I'm good here.
Just me then? If he's in there, then all he needs is the way out.
Are you still getting that glitch? What happened?
I don't know. Something I missed.
What did they do to you?
Wake up, please. Wake up. Wake up. Oh, wake up.
Okay. Take it away, Shaar. Shaar?
Now?
Sorry, I think...
What? Okay. Yeah. So the trailer doesn't really tell you all that much, does it?
No.
No, it's just a whole bunch of cutscenes. So well, I'll try to keep it short. It's kind of a long and twisted story, but essentially it's a biotechnology that allows you to experience a dream that's been engineered. So snowboarding, skydiving, that sort of thing. And while it might feel like a day in your dream, it can take place in 10 seconds in real life. So, you could go home and go snowboarding for an afternoon, but it doesn't cost you any time in real life. And basically what happens is there's these two people that have this company and they're launching in 6 days. And basically they're selling these experiences, but both of them have ulterior motives. One wants to make more money, so he kind of wants to get into maybe like virtual incarceration. So, you would go to prison in your dream sort of thing. And the other one, she just wants to wake her brother up from a coma and thinks that she can introduce this specifically engineered biotechnology to give him a choice in his coma so that he can wake up. They're not very specific on how any of it works, which is probably a good thing because it probably doesn't, but it's sci-fi, so that's okay. And they also make it fairly clear that these are engineered experiences, like at least the ones that they're selling, and they're not interactive. But I think that is maybe a kind of where there's a bit of a problem with the movie, because they clearly are interactive, at least in the sense that when they're in the dream, they can react to the dream and have an emotional response to the dream. So I don't know. Again, they don't really cover that. But basically, what happens is something goes wrong. The woman who is the partner in the company, her boyfriend dies because he takes one of the wrong experiences, the one that she's working on to save her brother, and he dies. So they offer to give her, like, basically pardon her of her crime if she's willing to experience 1 year in prison in a dream, which is only a minute of her life. But and she does it, and it's horrible, and she's going crazy in her dream. She gets to a year and she doesn't wake up. It rolls over, and huge spoiler, the clock goes from 365 back to 1. And so she breaks out and finds out, oh, well, it's not a dream after all. They've actually locked me in a box for a year. And so she breaks out, finds out her boyfriend is actually alive. She manages to wake her brother up, but then he dies anyway. A lot goes down, but it turns out she actually still is in the dream. And and so yeah. And then the end of the movie is I don't know, it's kind of just that's kind of the gist of the story, I guess. The end of the movie is just her trying to say, we can't do this. We can't put people in, incarcerate them like this. It's inhumane, and it's also broken. But her partner wants to do it anyway, so she gives him the experience, and that's the end of the movie, sort of thing. And he freaks out.
It kind of tapered off in that way, didn't it? It's like,
yeah,
there wasn't a punchline, as it were.
Well, I don't think there needed to be. I didn't like. There are movies. I definitely find there are some movies where the entire movie is really based on the ending, right? Like, everything's just a build up to an ending. And if it weren't for the ending, the movie would suck. I kind of thought this movie was interesting the whole way through, and I thought the movie had a good ending for what it was. Like, I thought it fit. So,
yeah.
But yeah, there wasn't any huge, like, there's a few twists throughout the movie that shock you, but there's not a huge ending, I think.
Mm.
In that sense.
It did have a feeling of Total Recall for me at first.
Yeah? It's almost a little bit like Inception in some ways.
Yeah, Inception
right?
meets Total Recall.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was, as you mentioned, that interesting part where, both partners have ulterior motives.
Yeah.
And the whole point of the whole project is that, I mean, there's a bit in the middle where her partner, her business partner, is trying to sell this system.
Yeah.
To I don't know, investors, I suppose.
Yep.
And it's the idea that, wouldn't it be awesome to be able to learn a new language in a minute by having, 6 months worth of classes all in one go, or even going to, this engineered country so you can actually speak the language with natives and be able to learn it firsthand.
Yeah.
And you could do this in seconds.
And they were saying, like, with say a conviction, you could literally serve out your sentence in the courtroom.
Yeah.
Right? In a minute. You'd serve out your sentence and then be rehabilitated and go back into the and I don't know, but he was really, you got the feeling that he was in it for the money.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like, these were big ideas, but he was in it for the money. Whereas the only reason she was doing this is so she could fund her research to wake her brother up. That was her only motive throughout the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
So.
And, it's like they tricked her towards the end of, not towards the end, in the middle sort of, act, where she was effectively tricked into thinking that she'd done something.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a way of manipulating her.
Yeah, exactly.
And it leads to the paranoia. Who can you trust? Because I think this is an Australian movie, by the look of it.
Yeah, it is.
And there's I don't know what you call it, like a Kiwi guy. I can't remember what his name was. The other engineer, the not partner one.
The the dark one, right?
Yeah.
What was his name? Shalom. He was coder number. No,
Yeah,
it couldn't have been coder number. No.
he was a coder of some kind or
It was a
whatever.
coder. Yeah.
And he,
I don't
you know, it was kind of clear that he'd been swayed by, help me out, and I'll give you a load of money. I'll give you a part in this thing that we're going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Who do you trust?
Yeah, and which was interesting because in her dream state where she thought she was awake, she didn't trust her partner, right? Obviously, because she was dreaming it. It was her subconscious coming up with the story, right? So she didn't trust her partner. Was like basically conniving, backstabbing, whatever, and that was her impression of him, and she was right. That's who he was.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still a bit unsure of the storyline because it is quite a complicated one, you know.
It is.
It's the kind of thing where you got to watch it once or twice.
Maybe it's not as bad as Inception.
Yeah. Inception I could manage quite well, but this
Really?
one, I found this one a little bit more. I think it was a bit harder to follow. Follow the thread of it all.
Yeah, I actually found it pretty easy, but I don't know why I would. I don't know. So there was that defining moment where, like, I was kind of watching the movie and like, yeah, this is kind of fine, this is cool, whatever. When she was in prison and the clock ticked back to 1, my heart stopped because I just like, oh my God, like, can you imagine like going through that, like, and thinking it's over, it's going to be over, like any minute now, and then you see that and you think you could be there for an eternity, right? Like it would just be unbelievable because you could basically live like, 20 minutes would be 20 years, right? So, I mean, that would be awful.
There was another thing that it sort of reminded me of another thing as well in that regard, which is the American penal system where you got to get parole. You know, it's not just like you've served your time, now we're going to let you out. No, you got to prove that you're not a danger to society or something.
Yeah.
And so there were people that got 20-year sentences or something and have been in there for 30, 40 years.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, they didn't address any of that. This was super preliminary research into the idea, right? They didn't address any of those problems.
No. I mean, like I say, the concept of it makes sense. It's a really good idea. I mean, if they could actually make something like this, it could revolutionize things. I mean, can you imagine, you could effectively make everybody smarter.
You could have 5 PhDs.
Yeah, I mean, you can literally have a society that are geniuses because all you have to do is, as a part of the a national curriculum for all students, teach them everything there is to know about anything.
Yeah.
And you don't have to spend years of study. I mean, you could literally have doctors that could do anything. I mean, the only thing you'd have to worry about is how much people can store in their heads, I suppose.
Yeah, that's a kind of a good point, I guess.
Yeah.
I also wonder too, like, well, right at the beginning, they kind of implied like that these dream states seem very real, right? Because sometimes dreams, even though they might kind of seem real in your dream, when you wake up, you're like, wow, that was nonsense.
Yeah.
Well, the whole point of the opening sequence isn't that these are dream states. What they explain is that they're manufacturing memories.
Yes.
So they're indistinguishable from actual events that happened.
Yeah.
And the way they market it is that we're going to sell you the perfect day, when in fact she's trying to rewrite her brother's memory.
Yeah. That's a very good point. Yeah, it is sci-fi, and I think for the most part, it was a fairly solid sci-fi movie. Like, I didn't see too many problems with it. Stuff not explained, that's normal. It's good. At least they didn't try to fit carbon dating in there somehow. Seems like something they try to do all the time. What did you think, Nicola?
I really liked it.
Yeah.
especially considering that it's an indie film. It's actually considerably low budget,
Yeah,
but it was very well done for that.
I thought so too.
The only thing that I, kind of objected to was that it was incredibly predictable that she was still in the simulation.
It was, and you know why? Because
Yeah.
and I thought of it too. Like I'm like, of course, of course she's still dreaming, because I'm thinking, wait a minute, there's no way you can spend an actual year in a cell and not notice physical changes. Your hair grows, you lose weight, gain weight, muscle, like whatever, right? Like I mean, it would affect you physically, and not to mention she's a woman, so she'd have her monthly cycle to worry about, like things like that, right?
Well, just even setting aside those kinds of details, that just
Yeah.
seemed like the natural progression of the movie.
It does.
Yeah.
But then I realized, so yes, I mean, I knew she was still dreaming, but like how and I don't know if it obviously wasn't an engineer experience, because she was like it was her own experience. She was making it up as she went along. And you know how dreams are, right? In a dream, you don't think about these things. These things don't even like when you wake up, you go, wow, that made no sense. But in your dream, they seem perfectly normal. So, I mean, I mean, although I knew she was still in a dream state, I can believe that she thought it was real, right? So I think that's kind of important.
Well, the whole point of it is that effectively it was, from a quality perspective, her perspective, it was real. They're still traumatized when they get out of it. It was, they were conscious for an entire year relative to themselves in the simulation.
Yeah. I mean,
the thing that I really liked about it was that it really took a violent twist at the end.
Yeah.
Where it's basically the whole movie was like her being in the simulation was actually just a build up to the ultimate, climax or whatever the conclusion is. And the thing that I took away from that was basically that movie is the Dr. Ian Malcolm principle. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, yeah, technically, and as a matter of principle, you could do what they did and make a program that rewrites people's memories and allows them to experience the best day of their life that they could possibly have, or it could be used for terrible things, or it could ultimately just result in people dying.
Yeah.
So don't mess with that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an interesting point, because, could you imagine if I don't know, let's say the CIA got hold of it and they wanted to waterboard someone, but it's like, yeah, we can waterboard someone without actually using any water, any boarding, or anything. We just drop this stuff in their eye and we can simulate, this effect.
You could really torture someone with something like this. Yeah.
It's got the power to, it's one of those things where it's got the power to do incredibly good but incredibly evil at the same time.
You would be having the experiences, but basically they would be able to say that no, it's not actually torture just because it's a simulation.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the whole point of the confinement system, which is extended solitary confinement is a kind of torture.
Yeah.
I mean, could you imagine the ethical conundrums that would go with this in terms of the legal side of things? I mean,
I don't know.
That was something that wasn't addressed in it. It's like, yeah, we're just we're the government and we'd like to buy this thing that you're selling.
Well, was it government? I didn't actually know if it was or not.
It was a private corporation.
Yeah, because
they were going to license it out to government as well as other industries. But the whole point of addressing that ethical concern.
I'm talking about one of their chief people who wanted to buy into this system, their chief investors. Yeah. Their first proper sale was going to be to the government.
Yeah.
Was it?
Effectively,
it was to the confinement program.
Yeah, okay. It was effectively their first customer was the Justice Department.
Yeah, and that's kind of the whole the ethics of it is kind of answered when she subjects her partner to the same experience, and his mind basically breaks, and he realizes, no, we shouldn't do that at that point. The impressions that you take away from it, at least.
Yeah, well, and I think he needed to, right? I mean, he needed to know, because he was willing to go to any crazy. He was
Well, he was willing to do it
He was
again
willing to
right
do a
after he
lot.
saw what it did to her. So
yeah, he was willing to go way too far, and he needed to understand it. He didn't until he tried it. So I thought, see, when they were talking about the whole prison system thing, I guess part of my mind was kind of thinking about sort of the privatized prison system that the US has in places. So because I could definitely see that, right? And I could see them lobbying the government to allow it, because think about it, like basically you can imprison people and it costs you nothing, right?
Yeah.
The only
it
thing is
costs you whatever it costs you 5 minutes to put the person in there.
yeah. But it doesn't, the only thing is then you can't put those people to work and get anything from them.
Well,
But
actually,
the whole point of that was they could have them serve 100-year sentence in a matter of an hour in total solitary confinement, and then whatever, all you had them was them laying in a chair for an hour, and then you set them on their way. They learned their lesson.
But that's the thing. I don't know what, isn't one of the whole concepts about the prison system not just punishment but rehabilitation?
Well, it depends where you are.
Well, yeah, but what if
the experience was also to rehabilitate as well?
That's what I'm basically
it could be
saying.
Because this was sort of a beta test, right? Like this wasn't. They could definitely change the prison program so that you were getting rehabilitated. I mean, she wasn't like. I mean, they could have a library in there so she could read books, she could learn things, she could have done a lot of things, but they didn't.
Yeah.
Right? Her cell was bare. She had tuna and crackers and water.
Well, that's also kind of the reason why he was so excited when they found out that she had lasted 371 days in the simulation. Yeah. Because she broke out and was able, instead of just remembering the experience such that it felt like she was remembering an entire year in every minute detail, she had gone out and created new memories that went beyond what the code had originally written.
Yeah.
So what he was exploring was the idea of actually being able to do that.
Well, then the one thing that is very clear in the movie is she has more hours in simulations than anyone else, right? Because not only is she putting in tons of hours at work as a tester, she's also doing it on her own to try to get her brother, to rehabilitate her brother, to get him back on his feet. So she's spending tons of time in these things. And I don't know if I guess it's implied that she's able to control them to some degree by the end. And it's, because she wakes herself up, right? When he puts her back in, she wakes herself up, doesn't she?
Yeah. Originally what the whole distinction was with her having the snowboarding memory over and over and over, that was just something to pitch to the investors. Yeah. When her actual goal was to write a code that would allow her brother to rewrite his memories, which was something that they weren't privy to.
Exactly.
And that's actually what ended up killing her boyfriend.
Yeah, she never told anybody, really, about that. I mean, they found out, but she kept all of that a secret. She just wanted the money to keep researching for her brother, really.
Yeah. The relationship with her father was a bit confusing. I don't really understand what had gone on. He
was a doctor, and I think she was like carrying on in his footsteps, having kind of being in the same field.
Yeah.
But he did not approve of what she was up to.
I mean, when they went to his house, like country house or whatever it is, and they're looking for the printer or whatever it is, they go in there. There's a server there, and there's the same kind of liquid machine. I don't recall it.
Yeah.
But, they got the same machine. Now I wonder whether he was someone who came up with the concept.
Well, he had the patent, remember? It was his patent.
Yeah.
So I think it was his. I think it was all his concept, and she was the one that kind of stole. Well, I don't know if you'd say stole it, but she took it from him because she wanted to save her brother, and her father wasn't into that. Didn't think it was a good idea.
He had the prototype, he had the patent, he had the research, and she stole all of that and developed it herself so that she could save her brother.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And the reason for that was he was looking a bit more ahead and realizing what the implications would be.
Yeah, he thought it was
being far more responsible than she was.
That, and he was ready to pull the plug on the brother, right? Like he'd been
Yeah.
in the coma, and it was like, yeah, it's time. But she just wasn't ready to let go. So
Well, she couldn't let go because she thought she was still hope.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Maybe she wasn't even wrong, but we can't even really go there because we don't know enough.
Yeah. Now, I enjoyed the movie. Like I say, I think to really absorb it, I'm going to have to watch it another 1 or 2 times.
Yeah.
Because there are I think there are subtle bits in there that will you'll pick up more as you watch it. It's almost like it's full of little indications of things that'll make you think. Because I enjoy a movie like this. I enjoy a movie that really makes you think.
Yeah.
What I researched about the movie was that apparently it was supposed to be about half an hour longer and have about double the budget that it actually did.
Oh.
So they had to cut out a lot of details to make it work because it was converted from the book. So
I got a question. When Cliff showed the trailer there, she's shown wearing a security uniform.
Yeah.
She's
and the name on the uniform is DMT Security.
That's in her dream. Basically, she breaks out of her prison in her dream and steals a uniform and a car. And yeah.
That is a reference to hallucinogenic drugs, though.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it's actually I didn't know she was still in the dream. Like initially, like she stole the car and then she went somewhere and talked to her friend that basically said, no, your boyfriend's still alive. And up to that point, I wasn't sure. I thought maybe she was like actually awake. And then shortly after that, I like figured it out. But for that first little bit, I was like, what? Because it's kind of nuts. But like, yeah, then it didn't take long though. Like 3 minutes later, you're like, okay, yeah, she's still dreaming. But I
felt it was like that anyway, and that was simply because I think I've watched, it kind of reminded me of Total Recall. And it's like, okay, but how are you going to make it not Total Recall? You got to have your own little punchline. And so a part of me was thinking, yeah, she's still in the dream.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I knew that was a possibility, but I didn't know it until like right away. At first, I thought it and even if I don't know, I part of me, I think when I realized she was still in a dream, part of me was worried that she wasn't, because I thought, because if she's not still dreaming, this makes no sense, right? But if she is, it's okay. So I was glad that she was dreaming, but I mean, they made it questionable enough. They had enough, like it was kind of an interesting, and it was such foreshadowing on what actually happened when she was awake, right? Because like basically it's like her partner stabs her in the back, tries to make all this money, with this thing that she doesn't approve of, and yeah, that's exactly what happened in real life too, right?
Actually, it just occurred to me. I've seen the initial concept of learning stuff you don't know in a matter of seconds.
Yeah,
we've seen that before. It was in the Matrix. It's like, okay, we're just gonna show
I know
you
kung fu.
I'm gonna teach you kung fu. I know kung fu.
I know kung fu. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't it be amazing to be able to access that kind of technology?
No, that'd be terrifying.
Really?
I'd go for it. I'd be okay.
Yeah, like if I had it exclusively to myself, I would abuse the shit out of it. But if that was just publicly available, that would actually be incredibly terrifying.
I think it would be terrifying if it was everything. I think if it was, I don't know. I think if it was minimal, I could see it being.
Yeah.
okay. But
I think if there were controls, I think it would have to be an equivalent of something that the FDA or the NHS or whatever system you got there in Canada, that it would have to be government approved and licensed in order to do something, because otherwise, you could use it for harm. So the idea of what would you call it, Rosetta Stone, of you want to learn a language, like for example, I don't know, I hardly know anything about chemistry, physics, biology. I'd like to learn these things because the conversations we have frequently talk about things like that. Wouldn't it be great to just be able to, spend $100 and buy this vial and you drip it in your eyes, and it basically teaches you 3 years worth of classes.
Yeah. I wonder if it would change people.
Or Cliff, we could take someone's Popeye's chicken and lace it.
One of the fun jokes.
Teach them something about turbines.
It has to be eye drops.
One of the fun jokes I liked in the movie, though, was when they were talking about, while she's in the dream, all of the applications that her partner had decided to apply it to. And, of course, one of them was porn.
Yeah. Didn't they even say, of course, porn?
Yeah.
Like, of course? Yeah.
Porn is the gravy of the internet.
Yeah. I don't know. I really liked it. I thought it was a great movie.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, one of us, life got in the way, and one of us wasn't able to watch the movie, unfortunately.
Can anyone guess who?
Cliff only watched the movie this morning.
Yeah, I still watched it.
I went out and bought the book.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the book too, because I've never read the book, but I think it's great.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Like I say, I really did.
It was a good enough movie that I actually was compelled to go, like, okay, what did I actually miss that was cut from this? I want to find out.
It's interesting you say that they've cut so much, because I would say, like, there's got to be at least 10 minutes in the movie that is really just like sort of visual art, like all the waves coming in and you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of very slow artsy sections.
Which were very well filmed, I have to say.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I thought they were fine. Normally I get kind of impatient with stuff like that, but I thought they fit.
And I think like for example, the bit where she stood in the water and the waves are about to splash over her.
Yeah.
And it does heighten the sense of despair she has. It's like she wants to just walk in the water and drown because she doesn't want to face this.
Yeah.
And it does make you attached to the character more. Because something like that, I don't know if you do it, but I don't always attach to the character. I attach to the situation the character is under. How would I respond under the same circumstances? So I put myself in their shoes, but don't think of myself as that character. And I think that one made me consider the despair that she might be going through.
Yeah. I loved it at one point. So when she was in her virtual prison there, and I think she's thinking, okay, how can I make this year productive, right? And she's thinking, oh, I'll just write a book or a paper or something, right? But she starts writing, and you can hear her just like frantically like scribbling down all her thoughts. Then she just stops and thinks, no one can ever read this. Right? Like that, and it just more despair. It's like, oh, this is so awful. Like you can never share this experience. You can never, just nothing of it carries over. You're so alone.
To work on this wonderful thing, which ultimately, you didn't finish.
And I think this is why, if such a technology came about, they would have to have some kind of rehabilitation system built into it, So it's not just someone sat in a box. It would have to be, okay, we're going to give this person some skills. We're going to teach them woodwork so they can get into building houses or whatever, painting, becoming a painter or decorator, things like that. Give them real skills. So rather than just stick them in a box and have them mentally isolated for a year, which can be damaging, let's say, okay, in order to serve your sentence, you've got to be rehabilitated.
Part of the problem with that, though, and the reason why he opted for the confinement program is, first of all, it's a privatized system, and it's not really concerned with people being repeat offenders. That just makes them more money. But secondly, he also thought it was beyond his ability to make an interactive memory.
Yeah.
And that was the reason why he was so excited and wanted to force his partner back into the simulation, was because she had broken from what was pre-programmed as her confinement memory, and she started forming new memories based upon that code.
I mean, there's one thing I struggle with, because I've only watched it once, and I think I'd need another taste to be able to really absorb it. Her partner, was he an arsehole, or was that her fiction?
He wanted. Well, yeah, he was. I mean, he put her in the simulation again, right? He was so blinded by the thought of money and fame and success.
But at the same time, they were both selfish, just for different reasons.
Yes, she was too. But I think
they were just representative of two different sides of an extreme.
But I think he was willing to put everybody at risk. She was basically torturing her brother and her father and herself, more so.
Yeah, I mean, there is the greed problem that comes with it.
Yeah,
his desire to have this thing a success. It's like, okay, we've got people, really not sure with it, but the only people that seem to really, this is the multi-million-dollar thing. This is the big shot here. It's the Justice Department or the private company, or whatever you want to call it, the incarceration department, whatever you want to call them. Okay.
Yeah.
This could be our only chance for this thing to go good. Otherwise, it could just be a flop and nothing ever comes of it. And all this time and money that we put into this thing will be wasted.
I don't even think that was it. I think the partner, what was it? I don't know which one it was, Sam or Danny or whatever. I think so I think he knew it was going to be a success. He just wanted more. He just wanted more and more and more, and he wasn't willing to wait. Like he just had to have everything.
But that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Is it was like the first thing that comes up that'll make some money, he seizes on it rather than saying, okay, let's look at the bigger picture, because ethically, this one doesn't seem to be right. Because the whole principle of this is education and experience. You can go on a holiday in a few minutes. Or you can, study something, study a trade. You can, get a PhD and do all the stuff that's required of that learn everything in just a few minutes. He didn't seem to care in what form the money came, as long as the money came.
And just more and more of it.
Yeah.
It's almost like he was an analogy to a corporation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which is effectively what would happen with any new technology that gets into the hands. Is people are gonna go, how can I make money off of this? And irrespective of what the intents were of the person who made it, it's going to be used for something that they didn't want it to be. The best example would be the guy who made the Nobel Prize. He made dynamite, and the idea was that it would make clearing mines easier for people, and then it started being used as a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, has anybody else got anything to say on it?
I think everyone should go see it. Although they've,
Yeah.
if you, it's
I would recommend it. I would, even though we've spoiled it.
spoiled it. Yeah,
Yeah, sorry.
sorry.
Isn't that
I'm
the
gonna
whole
put it-
point of movie club is where we watch the movie and then in turn spoil it or just give
Yeah.
our thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah. You should on this one in the description write spoilers. Go watch the movie first.
Yeah.
For anyone that hasn't watched
I think that's inherent. Hey, we're going to be talking about this movie and what our thoughts are about it.
Yeah.
So,
This
if you
is-
haven't
this
figured out
is-
there's going to be spoilers.
Yeah. This is a movie where the spoilers kind of do spoil it, I think.
I love the way that Shaar just basically said, yeah, if you want to watch it, go and watch the movie, and this is like 50 minutes in,
Yeah, I know.
After it's been spoiled.
Yeah,
I know.
exactly. We've been spoiling it for 35 minutes, and
So the
now,
only thing that I
now
wondered
tell
about,
you,
though-
oh yeah, by the way,
But people might watch it tomorrow or whatever.
I don't know. A safe bet that you could always do would be to recommend a movie that's at least like 20 years old or something, just because
Yeah.
what's the etiquette there? If you haven't seen
Well-
it, you weren't going to see it.
The thing with this is nobody's heard of this movie, right? Like it's Australian, it's kind of small, and like I stumbled upon. I honestly I was just looking at some torrents and I saw this thing called OtherLife. Had no idea, just downloaded, and I was like, "Wow, this is amazing."
That was a risky move.
Why?
It's a random torrent. Let's download this.
Oh well, yeah, but in like Ubuntu, like on a VPN, yeah, it's fine. It's on a virtual machine, so it's like not going to destroy anything.
Yeah, it's not like you downloaded from Yahoo.
No, I was just like it happens so rarely, but this was just a lucky find for me. So
okay, so
You liked it.
as is our tradition here, we do a sort of an out of 10 kind of rating. Since it's yours, you can go last, Shaar.
Okay.
I'm going to give this about a sort of 7.5, maybe close to 8. I don't really go 10s because 10 is like, just amazing shit, and so I tend to stay away from 10 out of 10. But I certainly think this is a really good movie, a small budget, really good movie, and it's thought-provoking, which is something I like. I really enjoy things that make me think laterally. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 7.5. Sorry, 7.5 out of 10. How about you, Nicola?
I'm giving it an 8.
Excellent.
The only reason why I wouldn't rate it higher was just because, yeah, it was too predictable that she was still in the simulation.
Is that predictable that the story was predictable, or predictable because, yeah, we know there's a punchline somewhere and that's probably it?
Well, no, it's just the overall story wasn't exactly predictable. You didn't really know where they were going or how anything would conclude. But when you get to when you start building the climax where they start putting her into confinement, you already know that, oh, she's going to think she got out, and she'll actually still be in the simulation, just because at that point they went into trope territory.
Yeah.
But then the neat thing about it was that it only served to continue to build up to what the actual climax was, and then that was just absolutely depressing. And I kind of like that because I'm a sick person, so I'll give it an 8.
Yeah, it's one of those not quite happy ending movies, isn't it?
No, it was
But
entirely serious, and it flowed very nicely with everything, and everything was very well.
it had some.
contained.
It was a little hint of vengeance with
Yeah.
taste of your own medicine.
Yeah.
So Headless hasn't seen it, and he can't.
I
really
give it a
rate
10 because it's not a Kevin Smith film.
Okay. Do you think you're gonna watch it?
I might. I was just busy and
I know.
didn't work.
Yeah.
All right. Our life gets in the way. We're not going to hold it against you. The only reason, I mean, Normally, under normal situation, we would have said, okay, well, we'll postpone it till next week so Headless gets a chance to watch it. But Shaar's going away on holiday, and as a result, we couldn't put it off. So, yeah, that just makes you look like an idiot now, Headless. Congratulations.
Where's your head at, Headless?
There you go. You see, that's what happens when you lose your head.
Mm-hmm.
You stop making sensible decisions.
Hey, at least I show up on time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So, Shaar, what your number?
I'm kind of like between an 8 and an 8.5. I could go 8.5, and I think what Nicola says about how it was predictable, I agree, but I didn't really see that as a bad thing. I thought it was still good. Even though I knew she was in a simulation still, I thought the story kind of carried itself, and I was never bored. I thought the acting was good. Nothing too cheesy. The effects were not amazing, and I'm a snowboarder, so that perfect day of snowboarding was not perfect, let me tell you. But but overall, I just really enjoyed the story, and I kind of prefer these types of movies to, there wasn't a single explosion in this. No buildings were destroyed. Things like that are just boring to me now. So
it's a brain movie, isn't it?
Yeah, and I enjoyed a lot more than just a straight action flick. Yeah, but I thought this had just enough. It was a little bit dark. It was definitely cerebral and odd and thought provoking. And yeah, I really liked it. And I thought the ending not crazy, not overwhelming, but really good. I thought it just fit. It was a nice ending, just kind of like mic drop and end of the story. And I liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't a happy ending, but it was a resolution.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I liked it. They did a pretty good job. And I'm going to read the book now.
Yeah, I can't commentate. I can't comment on snowboarding because I live in Manchester in England, and we don't really do snow.
We don't have hills.
What we do, there is no meanwhile in Britain meme.
Yeah.
Unless it would involve tea, drinking
or
tea.
rain.
Or rain, yeah.
Or sitting at the pub.
Yeah. Or trying to shoot ourselves in the foot with, some silly referendum that, but anyway.
Or a bunch of soccer hooligans.
Oh, that's old. That's old Britain. Yeah, we did in the 80s what Canadian hockey players do now.
Oh.
So maybe there's hope for you.
Sit around, drink beer, and then go home depressed because your team lost?
Yeah, that's basically what happens in soccer now. Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, just a bit of fun this week. A Manchester United footballer was notable for being the only other person since him to score an own goal, and that's what trends in the UK. A footballer scores another own goal. So that's how interesting soccer is.
He's lucky he didn't live not in America. That would have killed him for that.
But anyway, rightio. Okay, well, do you have anything else to say, Headless? Because, like I say, you didn't really get to watch it.
I'm pretty sure that if I do watch it, it will be better than anything that Kevin Smith has ever made.
You really hate Kevin Smith.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Just despite you now, every movie I'm going to recommend is a Kevin Smith movie.
You're an asshole, Nicola.
We know this already.
No, I'm just kidding. I already picked out what the next movie is going to be, and it's one of the few movies that actually got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. So
I have to point out that Nicola being an arsehole is fake news. We already know he's an arsehole. There is no news involved. Anyway, okay. Well, thank you everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and we're going to be taking a sabbatical from this for a month because Shaar is, selfishly going on holiday and leaving us without a presence. But in I don't know, season 2, if we want to call it that, we're going to leave. We're hoping to grab another couple of 3 people to join the panel. The only thing, there's only 2 criteria you need to follow. You need to want to watch movies and be able to be here at the time that we do this. So yeah, that's
or at least if you're going to be late, you can't be later than Nicola.
Yeah. He was only 6 minutes late this time. That's not bad.
No, that's pretty good.
Yeah, he's getting better. Pretty soon the joke will be.
Totally missed the first one, so
pretty soon, the joke will have to be. Wait a second, you're getting better. You're only 42 seconds late. So, anyway, thank you very much for watching, everybody. Take care. Have a good night.